Hey, this is Corey Mumper Stockton. I'm the lead content designer on World of Warcraft, and you're listening to the Epic Podcast.
This is the beginning and the end.
You're listening to the Epic Podcast Show with your hosts, Lignar, Walmardian,
He told me to tie her up and do whatever I wanted to her. So I took a stereo.
and Medicakes.
Do you think the expansion will make me fat?
Enough of this palaver. Let's get the show on the road.
Howdy, folks. You're listening to Epic Podcast, episode number 160. I can't believe we've done this many freaking times.
Almost 200.
I haven't. Almost. You haven't, true.
No.
What number was it when you joined us, Joe?
133?
I was going to say about 130, 135, something like that, I think.
Something like
shortly
that.
after November, so.
Wow, so almost 30 for me, which is, I'm sorry for you, everybody. I
Oh,
apologize.
whatever.
Anyway, I totally, apropos to the Twitter conversation Joe and I had today about not having any rails or not needing any rails, I didn't even finish the intro. We are a podcast for the WoW community. My name is Lignar, and with me is Medicakes and Walmardian, a.k.a. Joe. How you guys doing tonight?
What?
Everybody at once.
Yay!
Okay. Howdy, folks! It's good to be back.
It is good to be back. It
Is good to be back. Always good to be back.
It is, yeah. So what's been going on with you? Let's start off with Medi, I guess.
Like usual, fort raiding. Actually, we didn't have a raid Sunday because I think everybody was winding down with the AIE craft fair. Which, oh my god, engineering is such a pain in the booty.
Yeah. No, sorry, go ahead.
What?
Well, I was gonna say I was actually gonna drive home and be home for raid, and then I saw that we weren't raiding. I'm like, all right, I'll stay with my girlfriend.
Yeah. I was like, dude, I hope he didn't rush so he can make it on raid at raid in time. So good thing he didn't. Okay, Hosen style raiding. I joined Mr. Walmardian in his stream for his birthday stream he had. Woot woot. That was much fun. And actually he helped me level my mage to 90. Which I kind of forgot I had a mage.
I don't remember your mage's name.
Chick Logic, you named her.
Oh, that's right.
Third. Originally 1112. Because
Right.
Bill named her.
Well, she was arcane, right?
Alright.
Yeah.
Got to play some D3 with you in a row, so that was a good time. I miss punching demons in the face with you guys. Been trying to work on my crafty stuff on the side. That's been pretty much it for me. Oh, I got my heart steed. Actually, my fiance got my heart steed.
I was gonna say, be truthful.
Yeah, because he won 3 games for me. Since I seem to have gotten him and his coworkers addicted to Hearthstone now.
Well, make sure he has my battle tag. And that
Well,
way-
he posted his battle tag, but I'm like, hey, if you're on and if you see like Lignar or Ro or all these names, I was like, defeat them, crush them.
Gee, thanks.
Sorry, that's it for me. What about you, Joe?
Well, like you said, birthday stream on Monday, and while helping you level your mage, I was leveling up my druid, and that became number 26 of the level 90s. So getting closer to the 30.
Getting closer to 100. What?
I still regret saying, "Hey, why not 30? Is that the 30 sounds completely reasonable." It's not. It wouldn't normally be bad, but I'm so distracted anymore from playing Hearthstone so much and Diablo and figuring out Heroes of the Storm or stumbling my way through Heroes of the Storm. So it's like there's a lot of time away from WoW these days. But yeah. So with that, a lot of streaming going on. I do have a new streaming schedule that I'm going to keep for now, that basically in the afternoons, 3 to 5, Monday through Friday, maybe some evening streams like on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then some weekend stuff. But for the most part, that's going to be the consistent part of the schedule. So having a lot of fun with it and just trying to find more time, in my day to be able to do more of it. So that's going to be a big goal, and I've been doing better, and it's just been a blast. So I want to keep that up. That's about it, really. I mean, Hearthstone, I did get to rank 8, which was the highest I've gotten before, and end of the season today. So we'll see how I do next time. Trying to get a better deck a couple better decks really to be able to compete a little bit better and see if I can get a little lower rank this next season. Did just craft Leroy Jenkins, which is a nasty little card, so we'll see how that goes. But that's pretty much it for me. What about you, Liggy?
Real life has been kicking my butt. Like Monday and Tuesday was like, I don't know what other states are like. This is the first time I ever moved to Ohio since I was born here. It was a pain in the ass to get a driver's license and register a vehicle here. And unless it's just like this is where you started, but to bring shit from out of state, my God. Texas was way easier, so I got to give props to Texas for that. Now on the flip side, I do already have my Ohio driver's license. I don't have to wait a week to 10 days to get it in the freaking mail, so I can go get on an airplane if I want to. Unlike when you live in Texas. Anyway, enough real life stuff. Played a fair amount of Heroes over the past week or so. They made some changes on Tuesday with the patch that they just put out. Some of it I think is pretty good changes they made to the game. None of it has affected my play a whole lot, except for the hero rotation. It gives me a chance to try other heroes. None of which I've taken advantage of yet. Haven't really raided Thursday. Kind of had a few too many adult beverages, and was not going to be able to make raid, so I had to bail on Thursday, and then Sunday we didn't raid. So not a whole lot of WoW time. I do need to jump in and get LFR on my Shaman a little bit more, and L2 Shaman, and get him geared up a little bit more.
Like you're not even there, man.
Well, I just really don't like LFR.
Who does?
Well, we'll maybe talk about that a little bit more later, but that's about it for gaming. Played a little bit of Diablo, like you said, with you and Ro. Want to play more heroes, and really wanting to maybe start streaming some heroes. I'm not sure how that's going to work, but kind of want to stream some heroes. I'm not sure I have the streamer personality and the ability to pay attention to a game and interact with the chat room at the same time, but I'm willing to give it a shot. Plus, it gives people maybe a more of a noob's look at MOBAs, or at this MOBA, because I'm a MOBA noob. I've played League, I've played Dota, I've played Smite, and at no point did you hear me say I played them well. So, but maybe, because I think a lot of the people that are streaming are either just better gamers than me, or they're more experienced with MOBAs, that sort of thing. So I might stream it to give people a more laid back look. I know Adam from the Nexus podcast, they have a very casual approach to it, but they're also, all of them are much more experienced MOBA players. So that's about it for me. You guys want to go ahead and jump into the news?
Sure.
Sure.
All right, well, that's got somebody else's name next to it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sorry. Can I bring this up? I mean...
What?
I was just about to say something about the bickering at the show notes.
Well, no.
Hey, about the Dev water coolers that have been going on. Obviously, if you've been paying attention to Twitter and everything, there's been the Dev water coolers that have gone on the past 3 days. The first two pretty much were a look back to the evolution of raiding in World of Warcraft, which it's been. I didn't go over them as much as I would have liked, but it was neat to see everything condensed like that and see the progression that no pun intended, that raiding has taken place, or how it's taken place in World of Warcraft. Being that I kind of just stepped in towards the end of vanilla, I kind of take for granted all that I've seen and all I've been through and all the content that I have done in terms of raiding. So it was it kind of like freaked me out a little bit, honestly, to see how much we've all been through, if you played that far back. So, but the main one, well, does anybody want to touch on specifics on like part one? I mean, is anything
Not
like
really.
part one,
I mean,
anything jump out? Because
no, and just going by what you said, I came in probably around, I want to say, patch 3.1. So that was when Old War came out, I think. And I didn't really get to experience that, but I did get to experience. No. I came into WoW in Burning Crusade, but I guess my first experience in raiding was Old War. And just to see how it was back then to where we are with part 3, it is kind of scary, but amazing at how many things have changed leading up to where we are now. So, go ahead.
Lig? Oh, I was gonna say, Lig. When did I don't even know when you started playing.
I started mid Wrath.
Okay. When did you start raiding?
ICC.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but like I hit the funny thing is I hit 80, and 3 hours later, I was healing ICC.
Okay.
Shitting my pants the whole time because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. But
I still remember that night.
I didn't do bad really. I'd never raided before in my life. I was on my priest, and I was disciplined at the time because, ironically enough, as much as I say no habla healing, or no hablo healing to get it, I guess, grammatically correct there, I started as a healer, and I was playing a disciplined priest, and the raid leader said, "Well, no, you need to be holy, and you're going to be tank healing." I'm like, "Okay, you might be more experienced at raiding, but if I'm going to be tank healing, and this is Wrath, I'm like, I should be disciplined." Because it's more single target the way it was at the time. And he's like, "Go holy," and I could not keep the tank alive. And I was like, "Let me go discipline." He's like, "All right." So I switched specs and went fine. Granted, like I said, shit in my pants the whole time. But I was at 80 for 3 hours before I was raiding.
Yeah.
And that was my experience. And it was 10 man, not 25, but that was my first raid.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty. I mean, that's intense to go straight to the end game raid, essentially. I know they had Ruby Sanctum, but let's face it, that was a throw-in raid.
Right.
So yeah, my first raiding, actually real raiding, was Karazhan. I actually did get involved in an AQ40 once. I was a warrior, but I was Fury, but they tried to get me to tank.
Everything I've heard about vanilla, if you're a warrior, you're a tank.
Yeah, no, exactly. Fury Warriors were a complete joke. Nobody took you seriously, and I didn't really take the time to learn to tank. That was too much for me, being my first MMO. So, but yeah, so I did step into an AQ40, which is just odd to think. Now I feel really old when I talk about that. But Kara was the first role progression that I ever got to do, and it was because it was 10 men. It was more feasible I was on a smallish server, small guilds and stuff. So. But yeah, it's neat because even like I said, part 1 and part 2 both go over, raiding up till now, all the way up through Siege of Orgrimmar. So just kind of like a state of what things have been. And now part 3, the one that everybody's really talking about today, because it just released today, but also because of everything it talks about, it's talking about the philosophy of raiding in Warlords of Draenor. And obviously there's some changes. The most, of course, we know about the new raid structure. We know about things being condensed. I did notice on Twitter, and I think it was Hend that mentioned the rebranding of the raid tiers, and I guess that's sort of what's going on. But to me, it just seems like they're just condensing them and making it more simple. I never thought of it as a total rebranding. That's just sort of happened. Well, because like flexible is now becoming normal.
Right.
Normal's becoming heroic's becoming mythic. To me, that's just part and parcel of the process. I never felt like it was being rebranded, but that's one. I mean, obviously the most well-known thing because they went outside of at BlizzCon and everything, but the most significant thing, at least according to Twitter and the way my Twitter feed has gone today, is because the way they're changing some of the gear and stuff in Raid Finder in particular. I haven't read through this completely, but apparently we're looking at LFR becoming more of what I always thought it was going to be, which is kind of I think what do they call it? A tourist. I can't remember the wording, but they call it was going to be a tourist kind of thing.
That it's not the exact word, but it's something like that. The way they described it at BlizzCon.
Mm-hmm. Right, and it's for those people. I mean, because face it, before LFR, if you wanted to raid or see the raids, you had to get into a raiding guild. You had to go through the whole process. It was not feasible for a lot of people. So they made LFR so that people were, I mean, let's face it, an ICC is the finale to the expansion, and people weren't able to go into it. So they made LFR so that people would be able to experience those things. I never thought it to be a way to gear up. And unfortunately, in my mind, anyway, that's kind of what has happened. And so they're taking it back. They're reeling it back to what I thought that it should be, is more of just check out the gear. I guess or check out the content. There is gear progression. I mean, you can gear up through it, but it's not as required as it was, at least how I felt it was in Miss. So apparently the gear is not quite as good. I don't see that they mentioned the whole tier situation, but I'm assuming that's also in play here.
They did mention that there would be no tier gear. There are trinkets that are unique to LFR.
Right. Yeah, I saw that.
And I guess my thing is when it comes to the social media reaction, everybody, myself included, reacted completely with the blinders on and completely selfish. People who only run LFR were upset that they can get tier gear in LFR now, but they won't be able to in Warlords. Myself, I sit here and say it doesn't change shit about how I play because I don't run LFR now. But then we look at people like Blood Legion, who they said, yes, LFR is required. Well, if this change to loot means that it's not, then there's less. And then, granted, okay, that's Blood Legion. We're talking like, number one. Right. They vie for the number one ranked guild in the world when it comes to progression. But let's look at your average current 10 or 25 man raid that's more casual than Blood Legion. They're a dedicated, organized raid team. A lot of those folks feel obligated to run LFR so they can be as good as they possibly can, maybe fill in that fourth piece on their set bonus and that kind of stuff. And now they don't have to. So don't think of these organized raiders as hardcore players. These are people who are playing, 3 hours for a raid, maybe once or twice a night or once or twice a week. So maybe 4 to 6 hours per week they're raiding. It's not a ton of time. So they're not, in my opinion, that's not hardcore, right? As far as the time commitment. And so these people feel less obligated to go run LFR, and therefore are probably going to be less burned out on the content further down the road. And I think that's a good thing. I do understand the folks who only run LFR. I do understand them being upset as like they had something and then it's getting taken away. I get it. But like I said, was it last week we talked about this?
Yes.
And, if they came and said, like, hey, right now I run flex mode, that's what I run, which is going to be normal. And if they came out and said, hey, there's no tier gear in normal anymore, okay. I don't understand why people were so upset. I really don't. You really, I understand you want that gear, but I don't see how, nobody's been able to explain to me why that gear is needed by somebody who that's their end game. And I'm not dissing on LFR at all. I'm just saying if LFR is your end game, you don't need that 4-piece bonus. You don't need that tier gear. The tier gear is designed to help players overcome the hurdle if they're on a boss in normal or heroic, what we currently call normal and heroic. It help them, if you're on one that's like a DPS race, that Shadow Priest 4-piece bonus is to help them overcome that hurdle a little bit. How many hurdles do we have in LFR? It's just not needed in LFR. I would love to hear somebody say, give me a reason it's needed other than they want it. And one thing it is fine. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I don't know how you need it. I personally don't need it, and I don't run LFR. I run what is going to be normal, and I don't see myself needing it right now. It'd be nice to have, but I don't see how we need it. So that's my take on it. Plus, I would like to, for you, for the folks who do run LFR, don't you typically hate it when the guy who runs heroic modes comes in, he's pissed at you guys because he calls everybody a noob? Now, when you get the nice guy who just kind of just blows through everything for you, that's cool. I've seen that happen. But when you get the one who's a heroic tank and he's just bitching at people all the time because they don't do it the way he thinks it ought to be done, doesn't that make it less fun? And now that guy's not, quote-unquote, obligated to be there, aren't you a little happy about that?
Yeah. I mean, the reasons that people go into LFR are so spread across the board, but and you can bring up pros and cons with both sides, those in favor of this not happening, well, those in favor of this happening, no tier gear in LFR, and those opposed to it. But it's like, for me, I run LFR on my tunes that still need a little bit more gear, because I run alts and I want to bring decent heals or DPS to this group that I'm going to be running with, and I'm going to build up that gear. So I look to LFR to kind of help me push that gear up, so I can survive basically in the flex runs, So I boosted my hunter, right? And I wanted to join Okahosen style on a tune that wasn't Smexidin. So I wasn't healing 2 different raid teams. So I went to LFR, and I built up my gear that way. And then I became a little bit more powerful, and then I felt that I could actually contribute something to this flex team. But I do agree with you that I personally, in my own opinion, I think that if LFR is your end game, then why do you need that tier gear?
Yeah, and
that tier gear is going to, like you said, get you over that hurdle, that you should be experiencing. You should have that hurdle in flex and normal and heroic. And if there's no hurdle for you to get over, then why do you need that tier gear?
Right. And when I pose that question, I'm not posing it in the this is mine and you can't have it. I'm not posing it with that tone. It's like I don't understand why. Because if they told me in normal mode in Warlords we wouldn't get tier gear, then that would tell me that they're going to design normal mode, which is now flex. They're going to design normal mode where it doesn't take those tier sets, those set bonuses into account.
Mm-hmm.
Like it currently does in normal and heroic. Those set bonuses are kind of considered, or vice versa. They take the encounter and then the set of encounters and maybe design the set bonuses around them, or vice versa. They're very related. And if they told me that I wasn't going to get tier set or tier pieces in normal mode in Warlords, then I would be like, okay, then they're probably designing the encounters where I don't need it. I don't mean that in the elitist sense that a lot of people, when you see it in forums, a lot of people read it that way. And granted, a lot of people mean it that way. It's like, well, you don't need it, you only run LFR. That's not what I mean at all. I just don't understand how it has that much of an impact on your gameplay, where you feel like you need to have it. Whereas somebody who's a heroic raider, they need to have it,
Mm-hmm. And I really don't understand, because I haven't even been to the forums, and I really don't want to see just the horrific QQ going on right now. But it's like, that the LFR is just, for a lot of people, it's sightseeing the experience. And if you're still getting gear, that's cool. I mean, you're still going to be getting decent gear that's scaled down to LFR level, but it's also going to help push you into normal rating if you want to go that route.
And something
so it's like they're not completely taking everything away from you. They're just taking away the set bonuses that Blizzard personally feels that you do not need set bonuses, or, extra perks from trinkets, if you're just doing LFR. I mean, if you want to start building up gear, then kind of need to go into the normals and into the heroics.
Yeah, and I'm looking at Twitter right now and I'm trying to find. I want to say it was Tetsumi. I'm sorry if I got it wrong because I know Tet listens. I think it was Tet. About the difference in how heroics are supposed to now be more difficult than what we have now. 5-man heroics, I mean. He was suggesting that with LFR being the tourist mode or sightseeing mode or whatever, rather than it, and maybe it's not currently, but like the gear is going to be a higher item level than what those heroics are going to be, those heroic 5-mans. And he was suggesting, since you are going to need to be a little bit more organized in those heroic 5-mans, or we assume, it's based on assumption, that maybe the heroic 5-man should be on par with, or maybe a little higher item level than LFR, and maybe make that the stepping stone to normal mode rating. Because you do need a little bit more organization and communication. I don't know. We don't know really much about these 5-mans that they're adding, this heroic 5-mans, how they're going to be. But I like the way he's thinking. Because I actually miss challenging 5-man dungeons. And I know this is where a lot of people are going to say, oh, well, people wanted the old 5-mans when Cataclysm came out, and then they QQ'd. I loved the original. I loved the launch 5-mans for Cataclysm. I loved that they were hard. I never played BC, but and I tanked. I got my ass kicked constantly. There were some things in there I thought were maybe a little too punishing, but I loved that they were challenging and it wasn't just a steamroll. Because I had to actually play the game and not just go through the paces. And I don't know what we're going to get with these 5-mans. I would love to see another blog, water cooler, whatever you want to call it, about the 5-mans. I would really like to see that, because I think there's a lot of players out there who miss the fact that, or maybe were let down that they didn't add 5-mans throughout the Myth's life cycle. And I think there's a lot of people out there who are kind of chomping at the bit, wanting to see what the 5-man scene is going to be like. So
I do miss 5-man heroics.
Somebody's saying, will in-game solo content be doable in LFR gear? Not sure what in-game solo content is, unless you're talking like, any additions they make to Brawlers Guild, that sort of thing. Probably because they're probably going to scale it down like they do with Proving Grounds. That was Lord Walker Maslin in the chat room asked that. They'll probably scale your gear down to whatever, the 5-man heroic is, like 463 now for heroics. They scale you down to that when you do challenge modes, or I think they even scale you down to that for Proving Grounds if you could do that now, right? And turn off all your set bonuses and all that stuff. So probably, it will be doable in LFR gear. I don't know why it wouldn't be. I don't know why they would take that technology out of the game, I guess is what I'm saying. And Joe's been really quiet.
Well, I just figured, part of the reason I don't want to say too much is because we covered a lot of this last week. But I feel like I have a unique perspective in that I did play, start playing in vanilla, and I started off. I mean, vanilla wasn't real forgiving, obviously, for casual people or whatever you want to call people that I couldn't do 40-man raiding. There was no way. It was too much. It was too much of a pain. It was just I didn't have that kind of time to put in. Like I said, the only reason I even started raiding at all was because 10-man Carrot. They introduced 10-mans. That was much more feasible, easier to get in and out, no problem. And now, I mean, and I did raid all the way up through Cataclysm. I was doing heroic, madness and all that stuff before Mist launch. And now, here in Mist, I haven't done anything but LFR. I think I jumped into normal Hard Fear one time for an alt run or something like that. But other than that, and 2 wings of Flex, that's all the raiding I have done. It's all been LFR and stuff. So I've been the raider, and I'm now kind of a retired raider. So I'm affected by this. But I understand the changes. I totally understand the changes. And again, if you want to say, if I'm just going to do LFR, if I'm not going to do any of this other rating, which I don't know if I will or not, so I'm affected by this too. I'm all right with it because I remember what it was like doing progression rating. I remember what it was like to work towards that goal and have those little pieces fall into place gear wise, working with your friends to overcome obstacles, getting those little steps to each next challenge, and that's what all that was for. I remember getting tier gear being a very big part of getting to that next overcoming that next obstacle. And I understand tier has been LFR and all that, and it's being removed, and that's a frustration. But I always felt like it was part of progression. It was part of that challenge and helping you overcome that challenge. And the reason I feel that it's fine being taken out of LFR, because LFR doesn't offer a ton of challenge. Now, I don't want to negate that it doesn't have mechanics that people do have to adhere to. You guys even spoke to how Throne of Thunder you were having problems there simply because people were trying to ignore mechanics. But it isn't progression. They even spoke on how you're I don't remember how many times they said, how many times you've done this particular boss, say 5 or 6, 10, whatever it is. It's not necessarily easier that 10th time as opposed to your first. It might even be worse depending on what random group that you've been thrown into. It's not that progression that rating kind of has always been. So you don't necessarily need to overcome obstacles in LFR. LFR was there to see the content and to get the gear and all that. So that's the only reason that I'm like, okay, tier's gone, that's okay, because you were supposed to put those pieces of the puzzle together to help you get higher up in the actual progression. I don't know if that totally explains my side, but that's but like I said, I'm dealing with it too, because I don't know where I'm going to be in terms of rating. I see both sides, but I never, there's certain things when LFR was introduced that it didn't seem to fit, because my mind has always been rating as progression.
Well, remember when Dragon Soul LFR was first brought out, they didn't know right away when they first said it was going to be there, and people asked, they didn't know if the tier sets were going to mesh, if like the LFR, if you got a piece from LFR and a piece from normal, that if they would activate each other's set bonus. They didn't know how they wanted to do that then.
Mm-hmm.
And I think honestly they and maybe I'm putting words in their mouth, and that's not my intent, but it seems like to me they wish they hadn't have done that.
Yeah.
Kind of like the flying thing. Let's not go there really, but
right. Well, you and I spoke about sometimes those tier bonuses are crap anyway. How many times do you need the whole 4 set to really get anything out of it?
Right, and that's class dependent, because sometimes it's like that 4 piece is fucking awesome.
Oh, absolutely. No, but I'm just saying it always was kind of a bonus. I mean, and again, usually by the time you got 4 set, it was something that your raid could benefit from. I mean, that's kind of, I guess, where I feel about tier when I was talking about helping getting past obstacles and stuff is, while I benefited as a player, say it helped me do a certain spell or something. The whole intent and what I loved about it was, as a healer especially, I'm helping my group with it. It's giving me the ability to, I can't remember what the 4 set was on Druid at one point, something I believe I don't remember, but it helped me heal better, which it wasn't, I'm mightier as a healer. It helped me do my job for my group, which helped us push through things. That's how I felt about here, and that's why, like I said, in LFR, it's just like it's a walk. I don't want to say a walk in the park, but it is random people getting together to just get through content, and there isn't a whole ton of coordination to the point, like we've said, you don't have to really even vocally speak. It's all in text and all. So it doesn't it never seemed to make sense to me that it was there. So
Right.
even a scaled down version, but like I said, that's my perspective from where I was to where I am now. And again, I say all this knowing I may never see tier again myself either. So take that for what you
Yeah,
will.
and I guess I'm not without sympathy for the folks who
Oh,
LFRs are
absolutely.
in game and they feel like they're getting stuff taken away from them. I'm not without sympathy at all. But I think, frankly, and we're just going to have to wait and see, because apparently the stuff that is dropping in LFR is unique art, even. So there might be people just running LFR just to get it for transmog.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, we don't know how cool it's going to look. We don't know yet. Frankly, we did see the male LFR set last week, I think. That was data mined. Wasn't bad.
Mm,
It wasn't great, but it wasn't bad.
right.
So, and that goes from, and I don't know if they're doing it per class or if there's just, here's your male set, here's your cloth set. Some of the craftable stuff that we've seen data mine's pretty cool.
Yeah, I actually thought the craftable stuff was really cool.
The cloth I thought was especially cool. Yeah, it's just because I play a clothy class, but I did think the cloth the cloth craftable stuff was pretty cool looking. So, but anyway, that seemed to be the biggest thing. They talked a little bit about the transition from flex to normal to heroic, and heroic to mythic, and how everything is cross-realmable except for mythic, which I think is a good thing.
Oh no, I absolutely think that's the way it should be now.
Yeah, I do. I totally agree, especially with the new raid finder, not LFR, but the other thing that they kind of have in the game now, but I guess it's going to be fleshed out more. I think it's a good thing, especially having that. It's going to help people maybe join. And I still think there's some big feature that they want to add. I really do. I think they're going to have like cross-realm guilds or something that they want to add that they can't figure it out yet, or you know what I mean? Because they are constantly pushing towards cross-realm stuff, and I just think that's coming. I don't know. It just mark it down. April 30th, Lig made this prediction, and then so 20 years from now, we're going to be like, see, that's how full of shit he was. They still haven't done that. But I don't know, it just seems like they keep pushing for cross-realm this and cross-realm that and cross-realm this, and they're only leaving the mythic raiders who, let's face it, the only ones who really care about it. I mean, yeah, I'm sure there's heroic raiders out there, and I'm not trying to offend them, but the vast majority of the WoW population, the only hardcore high-end raiders any of us care about is during the race to World First. Otherwise, none of us give a shit. Unless you happen to be a heroic raider. Right? Don't both of you jump at once to agree or disagree.
Sure.
But I mean, I just think that, they're leaving that as not cross-realm because, they want guilds to matter and all this kind of stuff. I just think that maybe they're, I don't know. What could they
Well, if they wanted guilds to matter, then they could do something different.
There is a lot of love they could show to guilds. There is.
Yeah, but it just seems that it doesn't matter as much to them anymore.
In Marathon, that's something that I've said a long time, is they're going to one giant realm. I've said that for a long time. They've got the phasing technology and the cross-realm zones, and they can balance how many people are in the zone that you see and all that kind of stuff. I think that's the way it's going to end up. I don't think it's going to end up that way in Warlords, but I do think that's the way the game's going to end up. It's just going to be World of Warcraft. There's not going to be realms anymore. But anyway, that's just kind of like, see, we don't need rails.
No, we don't. We don't. We are rail free here on Epic Podcast. I think that's almost a calling card of ours.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I think you might be right.
We don't need no sticking rails.
We don't, man.
Anyways, moving on, right?
Take off.
Sure.
I watched Brother Bear, so I'm all about the moose and Anyways. They snort too. Love it. New fiery mechanical mount coming soon. Blizzard posted a preview of an upcoming mount on their social media accounts. Fiery mechanical steeds are best when they can be used with friends.
The most
It is-
transparent.
So, obviously, recruiter friend has to be coming back, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And it is a badass looking mount.
But I guess what's the reward? Other than the mount, I mean, what's the reward for the recruited friend? You know, I mean, I know they can level up faster, but really, who cares? Because they buy Warlords, they're going to get a free 90 anyway. And you know they're not going to let them level faster from 90 to 100. I mean, maybe they will, but...
Well, see, I'll be honest. Everybody keeps going to, obviously, this is recruit a friend because it's better with friends. Can it just be that it's a two-person mount?
Maybe.
Well,
I
a lot
mean-
of people are speculating it is either a recruit friend or it's going to be a new mount on the Blizz store.
Or it could just be something craftable because we haven't had a two-person mount that's been craftable since Cataclysm.
Yeah, and several other people in the comments were like, engineering maybe?
That's what
Or
I'm talking about.
blacksmithing would be awesome.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it's probably, recruit a friend or whatever, but I always like to leave the door open for something else. I mean, just to kind of, I don't know. I get frustrated when people are just like, well, obviously it's this, and most of the time they're right. But I like that. Yeah,
To
look
be
at this
honest,
different
that's
perspective.
actually what frustrates you is they're right most of the time. That's what frustrates you the most, isn't it?
No, what frustrates me is I don't like taking the easy,
Oh,
most
dude, I'm just-
obvious route.
Just let me bust your balls for a minute, all right?
No, shut up. I'm gonna. No, I can't have that. No. I mean, it's true. Most of the time, I'm the wrong one. I mean, if you want to see the dichotomy of right and wrong, like look at Rose's predictions on stuff, and then look at mine. Look at his Twitter feed compared to mine. That guy nails stuff, and I'm just like, dude.
Yeah, he's done pretty good with his predictions, I gotta admit.
Yes, he has. So, yeah, that's just I totally fail most of the time. But
So, and Brumfindel, he brought up a good thing. Wasn't recruiter friend supposed to be going away, retired?
Well, but they've retired it off and on, or suspended it. They might not have used the word retired in the past, but they've stopped and suspended it. And
the
Sounds
recruiter
like a
friend's still around.
Basketball players.
No, recruiter friend's still around. It was the what was it? The resurrection.
the scroll of
Scroll-
resurrection.
That's what's gone away. So, yeah. So like I said, it could be and it probably is a new mount for that. But maybe it is like Luke's saying. I mean, it's not as necessary anymore. Maybe they're adding that specifically to give incentive for it. But I don't know.
Yeah, well, I guess my thing is because right now, if you do recruit a friend, you and your friend, if you level tunes together at 3 times the experience points, so it's like they level faster, right? But in Warlords, if you recruit a friend, they just get a free fucking 90. So what's the extra incentive? I mean, you see what I mean? It's like
yeah,
and maybe they're getting rid of it because they don't want to do the 300% XP. I don't know. Maybe that's why they. I don't know. But it's like to me, it just seems like like it's a recruiter friend mount, but at the same time, maybe it is a craftable mount. But I doubt we're going to see craftable mounts unless it's data mined.
Yeah.
From Warlords, we're not going to see them this early, and they're not going to patch them into the game now for craftable stuff. They're just not.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's more than likely that it's a greater friend. I just like to think about different possibilities, and there's certain things that I would like to see in the game again. I would like to see professions be something that
Mattered?
people mattered.
Other than cooking for food buffs and raids,
and
alchemy for flasks.
And making some gold on the auction house by selling a mount or something like that, as much as this is a mount. But I along with that, I'd like to see craftable gear be a little bit more important.
Yeah, I would too. I definitely would.
Stuff like that. So I keep seeing stuff like this, and it makes me hopeful that maybe we're gonna return to some of that stuff because I really miss that. So
Now, see, I never got to witness the fact that craftable gear was worthwhile, other than cosmetic or getting an eye level requirement to fill in a gap where you never could get that piece to drop, which is what I use it for now. So,
yeah, I mean, there was many times that you were looking for somebody to make this, that, or the other, and it felt not only like you could get a little bit of gear without having to go anywhere, do any raiding or anything, but it also felt like you're helping your guildies out a little bit in a more meaningful way than, like you said, just some food buffs and stuff like that.
Right.
You were actually getting the gear that was helping you progress. So
and Marathon said in the chat room, honestly, the only people I know that have done Recruiter Friend are couples who make new accounts to get the mounts. I have personally Recruiter Friended myself, partially to get the mount, partially because I wanted to level a class really fastly. Really fastly? Really quickly?
Really fastly. Wow.
I've only had 2 beers tonight, too, so...
Allow myself to recruit myself.
And that is a pretty good description of what I did.
Excuse me while I whip this out.
Anyway, I'm just going to kind of gloss over the next one. We kind of talked about it a little bit last week. Are we done with the mount?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I didn't think we really needed to beat that horse anymore. Get it?
Oh, God.
Yeah. There was a big post about PvP changes. None of us really PvP that much. So I know I personally didn't dive into that post, and Medi probably didn't, and I don't want to put words in Joe's mouth, but you probably didn't dive into it either.
No.
We kind of talked about a little bit about how they're going to scale PvP gear. We talked a little bit about it last week, but there is a giant blog post. We'll make sure we put it in the show notes for those of you who are interested. Part of the reason I want to skip over it is because none of us PvP enough to really speak about it intelligently, in my opinion. Like, we can talk about it and be like, that sounds cool. And it does sound to where maybe this is a better solution to that barrier to entry to PvP. We'll find out. I'm looking forward to it. But one thing I do kind of want to talk about is Ashran, which this is kind of flashbacks for me, thinking of back in the day of Wrath with Medi and I queuing up for that area that was PvP. I don't remember the name of it now.
Wintergrasp?
Wintergrasp, yes, thank you. It kind of seems like a hybrid of like the Toberod, Wintergrasp, and Timeless Isle kind of all wrapped in together in a giant PvP zone from everything that I've heard about Ashran. And one thing that people don't see or people don't do often in like Battlegrounds is they typically don't loot the guys when they kill them, right? I do. You don't actually take any of their stuff. You get maybe a gold, something like that, whatever. But they did put in where if you loot bodies in Ashran, then you can get loot that is specific to Ashran. And there's some crafting mats, that kind of stuff, which maybe kind of leads back to what Joe was just saying about maybe professions can become more meaningful again. Hopefully, maybe that's a way to maybe encourage people to go participate in Ashran.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's going to be... It looks like it's going to be kind of instanced, everything that I know about it. But again, not a huge PvP player. Didn't really dive into it and research it and figure out what I could about it. But it looks like it's going to be pseudo-instanced. I don't know that it's going to be a set battle time like Wintergrasp or Toberod.
No, they say, it's like Timeless Isle, so I don't know how it's going to work. Because, they say it's not instance like you're saying, but then there's objectives and stuff, and I'm just like,
And there's a battle going on, and
yeah. I don't understand, so...
I would like to see more about it, because that's the sort of PvP that does interest me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say it's going to turn me into a PvP player, but knowing that there's this objective other than just killing the other guy, right? And I'm not talking about capture the flag. I'm not, that there's an objective that affects the world that I'm playing in. That's what that interests me.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's not going to turn me into a PvP player, but it's probably going to get me to PvP more often than I do.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But yeah, it was just a tweet that was out from Lore, and somebody said something about if you kill people on Ashran, you get their stuff. And Lore's like, no, it's Ashran specific stuff. You don't actually get their stuff.
Right.
Yeah, because the photo says Pantherian hide.
Right, exactly. There's Holinka that tweeted that, but then, yeah, you look at the picture and it's, like, obvious.
Yeah, I mean, I know Holinka tweeted that, but just if you go to the link that I put in the show notes, like the original tweet wasn't Holinka, or is that his like personal account?
It may be like his toon name.
But
game.
Anyway, maybe. But yeah, it
just
was
by looking at the comments.
Anyway, it's something that I am kind of looking forward to at least trying. Is it going to be something that's going to suck me in? Maybe, maybe not. But I do think it's going to be something that's going to be at least going to get some of my interest anyway, especially once I get to level 100. What about you guys?
Oh yeah, I definitely would get into something like that. I mean, especially if it's truly like a sandbox kind of thing. I think that's a great idea if it works. Again, I have my concerns the way that I can't fully grasp what's going on right now with it.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really, like I said before, I'll check it out, but I can't really say that I'm going to be interested or get into it until I actually get my hands on it.
Oh no, yeah, that's kind of what I mean. But it's intriguing.
But I would like
right
to
now.
get into PvP again. I miss it.
Totally.
Yeah, I think
I haven't been interested in it lately. And missed.
Yeah, and I like the way Lig talks. It's there's something different about doing it. It's not a battleground. It's something that's out in the world. It's a part of what's going on with the expansion, and it just feels different. It has a weight to it,
right?
And it is in the environment. So I don't know. I hope. I don't know. I hope for good things, and of course, we talk about changes and going back to more difficult 5-mans and all that stuff. Some people would say, you're elitist, or, of course I get joked about, an old man joke, back in my day and all that stuff. But
well, you're the oldest one here.
But I do hope that the game kind of gets back to some of its roots sometimes. I mean, I obviously, I'm not talking just rose-colored glasses. I just think there's certain philosophies that it's drifted away from, and I don't mind that it added to the game with certain things, with LFR and whatever else. But I don't think it necessarily needed to stray from those other ideals either. You can incorporate. I don't think the whole game had to adjust, and I think the entire game has adjusted. So I'm looking forward to seeing, what happens with this, if they can learn from like they did from Wrath to Cataclysm, the giant changes in terms of difficulty and stuff, how they wanted to go throwback, but it was just a bit too much. They are learning every time they do stuff too, so I want to see if they're still trying to find that happy medium and that sweet spot of nostalgia and difficulty and going back to those things without alienating and going away from all the design philosophies that they've learned since. So
yeah, it seems like in terms of like if you take one aspect of the game, whether or not you're talking about the difficulty of PvE content or what have you, just I'm just going to use that one as an example of mine. You hear they seem to kind of go back and forth, like they'll make shit too hard and then they'll make shit too easy, and then they'll make shit too hard and then make shit too easy. But each time when they go, where it's too hard and then they go to too easy and then they shift back to too hard, it's not as hard as the first time it was. So they're kind of zeroing in on a happy medium,
right?
And it's just a matter of iterating through. And because personally, I think for a lot of people, and I'll admit at the beginning, even though I said earlier that I enjoyed the Cataclysm launch dungeons, and I liked them because they were hard, that they were too hard for a lot of people, and maybe it's just because we approach the game differently. I approach the game differently now than I did then.
Yeah.
So maybe I wouldn't like it now. I don't know.
Right.
But I think the heroics we have now are way too easy. That they were so easy that I have no reason to run them.
No, and that's the problem. I still say there's a big problem with lack of 5-man content, but that's a whole different issue. But I do think, again, that's kind of the little things that I keep hoping for that we go back to, because the fact that 5-man content is pretty much non-existent now. You don't
Right.
have to touch any 5-man content after leveling. I'm sorry, but unless you're gonna tank LFR or tank any rating as a tank, you're screwed because you're not gonna do anything but scenarios and LFR maybe.
Right.
And I miss tanking terribly.
I do too,
So-
actually. I mean, I'm loving playing my priest, but I miss tanking. I really do miss tanking. Especially, like I've said before, like with reading the stuff that they're changing on tanking, especially DKs. I'm like, oh, I want to get back into tanking.
Wow, okay.
Well, Medi was the one that kept me alive when I was tanking, so.
Ah.
But-
And you stayed alive?
Unless you put
Yes.
hand protection on me, yeah,
Oh, you know what? Just because I did that 3 times on Chanox.
in a row,
In a row.
on a boss that you can't taunt,
Yeah.
and that causes you to lose all threat. Yeah, let's review here, shall we? Anyway, I think that's it for news type items. We still have a poll up. Did you all link it in the chat room yet or no?
Yes. Well, not in the chat room, no.
Okay.
It's been tweets, but no chat room.
Okay, I will put it in the chat room. There we go. We have a straw poll up for whether or not Joe's troll hunter. Am I missing any details? No, we just know troll and we know hunter. And this is whether or not this hunter is going to be male or female. Go give it a look and cast a vote. Man, I was at my girlfriend's this week and I didn't vote at her place. I still need to go cast my vote. I'm actually kind of impressed, or not impressed is not the right word. I'm surprised by how the results are right now. I don't know why I'm surprised. I guess I expected it, and granted it's relatively close, but I expected it to be much closer than it is, especially considering the Horde Alliance vote was like down to the wire.
Well, I'm surprised there's actually this few votes too. It was getting pretty crazy there for a while.
Right.
So,
Well, I just voted, so.
well, I voted right away. So.
Well, yeah, and Joe, you make a good point. There are fewer votes total on this poll than what Horde got on the last one.
Yep. And I don't know what that's about.
I don't
But
either.
Either way, I mean, I'll tell you what.
Maybe it's just people care less about male versus female than they did Horde versus Alliance.
I think it's interesting from my perspective, because I've thought about this recently too. This is the irony of this whole thing. Recently, I realized of all the characters that I'm going for the 3090s, I have one that I made that would be a 31. No, that would be number 31, and it's like I'm probably not gonna do that because I'm already like lamenting doing this as it is. But it's a Tauren paladin, and I've always wanted a Sunwalker. And now I'm thinking to myself, if I only had shit, I'm giving it away for the podcast. Like, okay, well, there goes that whole thing.
Were you about to say if you only had a troll hunter?
No. I was gonna say I was gonna go with my Tauren paladin if I could create one.
Oh, gotcha.
And I'm like, before I was like, I don't have a use for that. Now I'm kind of like, well, shit. Now I wish I kind of didn't give this away, but whatever.
That's still fun.
No, that's the thing. As I'm looking at it from my perspective, even in this standpoint, I don't play a ton of female characters. I have a couple, depending on the race and whatever else that I want to do. And I'm looking at them like troll female. I would have probably never ever planned to play a troll female, but looking at the new model, I'm okay with it.
Have we seen the actual new one, or is it data mined?
I don't know.
I don't think we've seen the actual new one. I don't think we've got a art craft for the female troll yet.
It's been shown though.
Oh, maybe. See,
Because I know Wowhead has it in their model.
I think it's data mined.
Well, maybe, but either way,
Yeah, I mean,
it's pretty badass looking.
Right.
I mean, they're both part like good looking and vicious. I just think it's just a perfect model for an orc female. I'm really so if that's what happens, like I said, not something I would have ever chose, but if that's where it goes, then that's where it goes. I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
No, Chief says the gender doesn't matter. That's a good point. That's probably why people don't have as much of an opinion on it as much as they did. Certainly Hoarder Alliance, that was a faction pride kind of thing. So.
Yeah, I think that was and people were also attached to the race a lot in their class, but I really think, I don't know, maybe let's use these 34 votes or whatever it was. I don't have it open in front of me anymore, but that's large enough in my mind for a scientific study. It's not really, but I know it's not, but let's run with it. That people really don't care about gender.
No, I'm not gonna.
Yeah, let's.
Nope.
Sorry, I wanted to see if people would go with it, but people aren't.
Nope.
So let's move on.
One big pile of nope.
You're no fun, actually. Yeah, you are, but
I am fun, but I'm not going to be pulled into your games, sir.
Are we moving on?
Yeah.
Moving on.
Okay. Second annual Child's Play Marathon will be held on Saturday, May 17th, starting at 11 a.m. Eastern Time and ending on May 18th at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Last year, we had a goal of $1,000, and with your generosity, we exceeded that goal, driving us to push the envelope and set a goal of $2,500 this year. So many things have changed, so I'm not exactly sure who's going to be there, actually there.
I know I am.
Besides you. Well, I hope that you are.
And Roe is coming in Friday night.
Okay.
Joe, are you still planning on driving down?
I'm planning on it, yeah.
Okay.
Just right now I'm trying to get the particulars down. But at this point, like I was talking to Effie earlier, it's in Ohio. Luckily, it's not like a million miles away, so I don't see why I can't.
Yeah, you're like
in a better state, Effie.
I want to try. I'm just like trying to figure out a way for her to come, but there's just no way.
That's between y'all.
There's no room for her at your place. You got so many people already there.
Well, actually, that's the thing is they're dropping like flies. Aeon's not coming either.
Oh, okay.
So right now it's.
Wait, you know what? Why is it my first one and everybody's copping out? I'm starting to take this personally.
Aeon's not copping out.
Hey, if you got money, then get me a plane ticket. But
I'm just saying.
And I know somebody offered, and I greatly appreciate it. But I don't want to be in a car for 6 hours.
Okay, see, there we go. She has the opportunity.
But Aeon's got some personal stuff going on. He can't make it. So I know Rose coming. Joe, you're talking about coming. If you want to bring Effie, bring her. My girlfriend's probably going to be here. Still up in the air on whether or not Zia's going to be here.
Right.
So I've got room for people. I've got a spare bed. I got an air mattress. I got a couch. My girlfriend's got a little cot thing we could put somebody on. It's like lifts you up off the ground. It's actually not that bad. I've not slept on it, but plenty of people have. So anyway, we just totally interrupted Medi in the middle of her read. So
yes, we did.
It's okay. Apparently, I said marathon.
It is. That's why you said it.
Marathon.
Marathon and Merca. I hate myself for saying that.
Oh, yay.
So hopefully we have some guests that will be over at Legs. And we will have people, listeners, viewers, friends, and yeah, I can't even think right now, joining us. We're going to have an Alliance Flex and a Horde Flex throughout the day. We're going to have to be playing Diablo. We're going to be playing Hearthstone. I do believe a couple of people will be playing Heroes of the Storm, Beta, Alpha.
I'm hoping we got enough people that we can play some Heroes. And StarCraft Arcade too, but you're probably getting there next.
Yeah, I was. But thank you. Since my brain seems to be shot.
Well, we are having our marathon.
You know what? I'm done. Quit.
Oh, keep going.
As the event gets closer, we will be putting a schedule of the events on our website, and we'll have more updates for you as it does get closer, which it will be soon. It will be upon us very soon. We also are going to be doing giveaways. We have some in-game pets to give away. I will be making some paracord bracelets. We have premium accounts from Ask Mr. Robot. So lots of good stuff in store.
Sorry, Joe and I are having fun in the show notes.
Are you really doing this to me?
No,
Okay.
I just put it there to fuck with you.
Yeah, you did. You bastard. All right. So for those that obviously are not privy to what's going on, Liggs decided to put Katie's name next to the end of the show notes, contact informational, for me to do. It originally had mine. Now, of course, he put Katie. So, hint, hint, hint. But that leads me to say, okay, I'm back at my old job where originally the whole Katie thing started, and I worked with Katie today. I told you how the whole like toothbrush thing and everything else. I've told you about how this. Katie has a water bottle that, no joke, has pink little swirls around it and little glitter all over it. I'm like, I joke about Katie being a Thwan and having, just the pink pretty. She's the princess. She's the Thwan. And then she's got this glittery pink water. I'm like, all right, well, I wasn't wrong. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm not exaggerating. I don't feel bad in any way, shape, or form at all anymore. That it's accurate. She is a caricature of herself.
See, that's pretty impressive.
It's I couldn't. I'm like, really? Try and pretend I'm wrong, because it's right there in your hand. Anyway, that was off the rail. So, you really want me to do this skate? All right, I'll do this skating.
I just put in there to fuck with you. But if you want to do this, Katie, feel free.
Trying to think what else I could do. I can do Kermit sometimes, but I don't know. I don't think that'll work. And that's iffy. Anyway. Find us on iTunes. I'm just going to do it myself. Find us on iTunes and Stitcher. Leave a review or a thumbs up if you're listening via download. Join our live chat at 9 p.m. Chat? I think I said chat. Benny's rubbing off on me. Besides our marathon, we're going to have a chat. And join our live chat at 9 p.m. Eastern on Wednesdays at epicpodcast.com/live. Epic Podcast is a member of Catalyst Gaming Media. Be sure to check out the other podcasts, YouTubers, bloggers, webcomics, and more at catalystgamingmedia.com. Also, be sure to check out the forums on Catalyst's site and participate in the growing community there. Again, the podcast website is epicpodcast.com. You can send emails to epicpodcast@gmail.com. YouTube channel where Lake has been putting some really good updates after our show airs. Please check those out over at youtube.com/theepicpodcast. My YouTube channel, of course, is youtube.com/WildMardian. Epic Podcast on Twitter is epic_podcast. Lignar is Lignar. I'm WildMardian. And, of course, Medicakes is at Medicakes. And, yeah.
And as soon as we get observer mode and or watching replays in the Heroes of the Storm Alpha, there will be more casts of Heroes of the Storm on the YouTube channel as well. So
cool. Yep, that's good stuff, folks. If you guys are not checking that out, it's a neat addendum, and sometimes there's news that comes out after our show that we don't get to for the almost a full week. So Leg always kind of puts that there and kind of puts a little bug in your ear about what we might be talking about in the next show. So definitely check those out.
And also try to cover stuff like we try to keep the podcast. I mean, yeah, we talk about other stuff, but we primarily talk about WoW here. I don't hesitate to talk about Hearthstone, Diablo, Heroes, whatever. It's mainly Blizzard stuff, so. Anyway, I guess that is it for this week, guys. So, unless either of you guys had anything to add?
Not really. Just, come to my live streams and see my YouTube stuff. I did make a goofy, it was sort of goofy, but it actually turned out to be kind of semi-serious. I've had this idea of taking Frozen's song "Let It Go" and juxtapose it with the Lich King, and it's something that I had thought about a couple times not a couple times. I've just been thinking about for a while. Come to find out, it's pretty much been overdone, and I found a YouTube video that was pretty well done, sort of what I was thinking, but it lacked some depth to it. So I kind of took that idea and built upon it. So I put a video of that over on my alternate channel because of copyright and stuff. So I couldn't put it on my main one. But if you want to check that out, I'll put a link here somewhere. It's certainly on Twitter as well. But I really like it. It's unfortunately not available on mobile because of the copyright issues. But if you get a chance to see it any other way, I really thought it was a fun little thing to do. It's not something I normally do, but I don't know. Check it out if you enjoy lore, especially about Lich King in particular. Like I said, it's not something you're gonna see on my main channel, so it's gonna probably just go to the wayside. But I would like some people to check it out and let me know what they think.
Maddie, you have anything to add?
Nope.
All right. Well, I guess that's it for this week, folks. So until next time, have fun a while, y'all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.